Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Coffee Klatch. I'm Jacy Moonspirit, and this is my friend Sings with Owls. You can't see Sings' face because Sings is actually preparing to do a Reiki session. So I am on today to tell you a little bit about what Reiki actually is and show you a bit about what it's like to work with a client. This is something we usually cover in our Reiki classes between myself and Sings with Owls because we're both Reiki masters. So, you guys will be getting some exclusive information today. I'm going to be working in these chakras that you can see on this beautiful creation behind me. This is actually a body pillowcase, but this can be a very useful tool for when you're doing distance Reiki sessions. So I'll be using the chakra points on this as a guideline for Sings' healing. And Sings today has asked that we focus energy specifically on one of her hips. So I'll be showing you kind of the hand positions that we use and just kind of leading you through a little bit of a meditation while we go through this. So you do not have to send your Reiki energy to Sings with Owls. You do not have to take any energy from Sings with Owls. But I'll just kind of be going through a little bit of the meditative state that I get myself into when I open up to channel Reiki energy for the benefit of healing a client for their highest good and for the highest good of all. So how are we feeling today, Sings?
I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I've just got some problems with my outer hip
Mhm.
on the right side.
Okay, wonderful. And so we're going to be using Reiki today to work specifically on your hip. Is there any other areas that you would like to be worked on or that you would like to avoid?
Um, I would like to work on my lower back,
Okay,
like this part.
wonderful. And would you like to have your hands, or would you like to have hands on or hands above Reiki?
Um, Hands on is fine.
Okay, wonderful. Now, the reason that we ask that when we go into doing a Reiki session is because there are certain traumas and certain people who do not want to have themselves touched during a Reiki session. It is useful to place your hands physically on the body because when we work with Reiki energy, we also vibrate ourselves at a frequency that has been scientifically proven to repair tissues and bone cells. So it's very helpful sometimes to touch the body. But if the client is not okay with that, if they do not consent to that, just as we would in a massage, we would not allow the technician to actually touch the person. So since Sings is okay with that, what I'm going to do is come up here to where Sings is head in. And I know some of you may not necessarily see me, so I'm going to try to do it from the side today and just work my way down. We're going to spend a little bit of extra time with the hips themselves, and I'll show you some of those hand positions now. So the first thing that I like to do when I do a Reiki session is I take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. So you can do that with me if you'd like. Just in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Looks a little bit like Tai Chi on the YouTube channel right now. This can be something that's very useful for your client to hear you doing because it helps to put their breathing pattern into a deeper method as well. So periodically we're going to check in on our deep breathing, and I like to say a prayer. I am an ordained pagan minister after all, so I should do this. So, universal life force that is Reiki energy, I ask that you channel freely through me without clinging to any expectations and without creating any limitations for myself or for Sings with Owls. I ask that you channel through me to heal Sings, body, mind, and spirit, of anything that is incorrect for her path, and so that they may reach their highest potentials for their highest good and for the highest good of all. So, first position in hands on Reiki begins at the very top of the head. And we usually work with our hands kind of mitt-shaped like this, kind of like you're trying to wear mittens. So, we're going to be bringing our hands up to Sings' head here. For those of you who can't really see a whole lot of me right now, just know that I'm working on Sings' crown chakra. So I've placed my hands on top of Sings' head, and I'm applying the first of the Reiki symbols. For those of you who have been through this before. This is the Chokure power symbol, and it is used to open up the Reiki channel. So, yeah. As we open up this chakra, I like to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth and envision the purple light of the crown chakra at the top of the client's head. As I awaken this, I use Reiki energy to rebalance and harmonize this chakra so that it allows connection with the divine and connection and communion with the higher self.
And the leg actually jumped.
I can see that. For those of you who can see Sing's leg in the shots, what we're noticing here is that by opening up Sing's crown chakra, we are actually highlighting a meridian that goes through the right side of Sing's body that actually triggered a nerve response that caused the leg to shake. This is not something that we necessarily need to be concerned about at the moment. However, this is something to notice when you are working on someone with energy. If you start to notice severe reactions like a convulsion or something like that, it is okay to stop the session and check in with your client, see if they need medical attention and things like that. Reiki isn't really used to diagnose, but it can be used as a powerful treatment for things like nerve problems as well. I'm moving on to the second symbol, which is Seiheki for harmony. Remember, we set the intention to harmonize the crown chakra. And for anybody that's tuning into this to receive some of this Reiki energy, you can make a love offering to $4 of like kind through the Cash App if you would like to make a love donation for this. You can also just take the time to accept this Reiki energy for your own healing. I'm good at group sessions and distance Reiki, so it's totally okay. We're moving now to the transcendence symbol, which is Honshaza Shonen. This is used to transcend time and space. It's very useful when working with Reiki to heal past life traumas and also to just help in issues, I think, where the body doesn't actually retain memory well. And what I mean by that is that we have a muscle memory. For veterans that have been in active combat, there is an expression used called trigger finger, which is a neurological response that causes the hands to cramp. Sometimes when we use this symbol, it actually helps to relax the memory that occurs there so that the muscle memory is allowed to release a little bit faster, and it relieves the tension there in the mind that causes the body reaction. Just a little fun tidbit. And because I'm a Reiki master working on a Reiki master, I will also be using a version of Daikomyo, which is the Reiki symbol for masters. This is something that you achieve through your third level of Reiki and something that we can help you achieve through attunement processes. For more information on that, check out our website. First chakra is open and balanced. How are we feeling so far?
Feeling pressure right here.
On your throat chakra?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes we do have that happen, especially when you're a gifted medium and you're trying to express things that are happening spiritually. Sometimes if there's a blockage between crown and throat, we run into communication barriers with expression of what's going on spiritually for us.
Can you give me that little pillow?
Yes, yeah.
Maybe that.
Absolutely. Are you more comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've opened the first of the 7 chakras now. We have a beautifully flowing crown chakra. And you'll notice as we go through the session, I might start to look a little bit more glowy. That's because Reiki is basically universal life force that portrays to us as white light. So I'll be channeling some more white light for Sings as we move into the third eye chakra now. All right. So as we move to your third eye, We set the intention to allow your intuitive flow to become stronger and more awakened. We allow your gifts to come into balance with your reality. And we just open up your ability to perceive the world as it truly is between the spiritual and the physical. And we're going to move through all 4 of those symbols now. I won't bore you with repeating them, but if you feel called to use symbols today, use symbols. If not, open yourself to the beautiful life force that is Reiki energy and just focus on your breathing for this next bit. As we move through the chakras, we'll continue to use that same method of just focusing in on our breathing, and I'll tell you a little more about each one as we move through. And cup your ears now so you can clear your messages. Now that we've worked on your crown and third eye, how are we feeling?
Good. Still
feeling that pressure there? Has it changed sensation
it's like
for
a
you?
little lump.
Okay.
That's what it feels like.
All right. So we're moving from the third eye down to the throat. And something I'd like to notice about the connection between the throat chakra and the hips is that Sings loves to dance. Dance is an important part of flow for us as Indigenous healers. And so when our expression is having problems, our expression is having problems. So whenever you're having problems with your throat, you can usually tell something's going up with your teeth or something's wrong in your mouth. And if you chew all your food on one side of your mouth, it is actually proven that your hips will fall out of alignment because this and this are connected.
That might be why too.
So we're focusing on the throat chakra, and we're going to see if we notice any sensations like we did before with the crown opening to the hips. My hypothesis is there might be something here. We'll see. So we're moving into the throat chakra, which is our chakra of truth. This is our expression of ourselves and of our creativity, and just generally how we communicate with the universe and with everyone around us. So for this hand position, what we like to do is we will usually cup the throat or just gently place our hands on the sides of the throat so that the Reiki energy moves through our palms and into our fingertips in a way that doesn't close off any windpipes for the client. So I'll be doing that up here now. If you're doing this on yourself, you can just gently bring your hands together like this at your throat, and that will suffice for your self-hand position. All right, Sings. Working on your throat. I felt a frequency change the minute I started. That was cool.
You know, when you feel like you got a cough, but it isn't quite productive, and it's just hanging back there. That's what it feels like. That's what some of the lump is. That.
You would feel it clear out?
Yeah.
Wonderful. You doing all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So that's our throat chakra. That's beautiful. How does your hip feel so far?
It's more relaxed than it's been being when I lay down.
That's good. So something to notice about Reiki energy, if you've already been doing this meditation, is that Reiki energy will flow directly to where it needs to work in your body, regardless of where you try to control it. We intentionally focus on the chakras sometimes during our healing sessions so that we can perfectly align them with our higher selves and where we would like to be on our path, or how balanced we would like to be in our psyches. But Reiki is an intuitive life force. It will go straight through you and center around problem areas for your flow and move them out of your way so that you can be the best version of yourself and serve the highest good of all. So while we're going through all of these chakra points, we're noticing that the Reiki energy is branching out into Sing's arms, down the meridians into Sing's legs, and through her hips to her feet. So the Reiki energy is already alive and well within Sing's body, and it's responding to the treatment well, which is good. But we're focusing specifically on the chakras to give you guys a little bit of a starting off point, and so that we can make sure that things are flowing correctly from the channels throughout. So we're going to be working on Sing's heart chakra. The self-treatment position for this is something along these lines or these lines. For your heart, it is usually in the center of your chest when it comes to your chakra positions. Do what feels most natural to you at this point. Usually what I do for a client is I will put my right hand behind my left and I will lay them flat, sort of like this, on the client's chest. So I'm not down here where the breast tissues are. I'm actually up here in the pectoral muscles. And this is one of those areas where you want to make sure that you have your client's consent to touch. Some people may not be comfortable having you place their hands on your chest. So, are you okay with me working on your shoulders using the hands-on method?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. See, gotta check in, guys. Gotta check in. This is all a consent game. Reiki is very big on only working when you accept the energy. And so you have to be very clear about boundaries when you're working on a person. You may notice that I'm pulling some things off of Sing's chest at the moment. These are things that really don't serve Sings anymore. So there's a technique that we use sometimes where we sweep the aura. As you use your hand-on method, you may notice that an energy comes up that wants to be released. So you just kind of pull it off. It's like hair on a sweater. You just pull it off and you just ground that energy out. You allow the great Earth Mother to transmute that into something that is beneficial for your client and for the highest good of all. And then we just move on to the next step.
Can I just say that when I coughed, I felt it here next.
That's good.
So it's moving down. I feel like
Mhm.
it's moving down. We're doing good.
Yep. I once had a client whose chakras were imbalanced in the sacral, the heart, and the third eye in that order. So it actually, like, there was a good one that was blocked because it was between two that were out of balance, and then another one that was blocked because it was between two that were out of balance, but her crown chakra worked great. So she had the message she needed to have the healing, and she had the root to tell her, I belong in this moment, I'm present here. But then everything in between was all jumbled. So it's good to see these things kind of bounce off. She's like, okay, we're good. I just got the heart chakra released. Let's go to where the rest of my emotional filters and things are in my psyche, and that's in your sacral chakra.
I just say that's cool to tell, for people to hear that experience,
Yeah. I think it's useful, especially because she was a woman and she had been through trauma as well. So she was the first person that I was like, oh, there's a connection here between something that happens to you as a trauma, the way you internalize it, and the way you think about yourself and the people around you, creating your reality here. Because she kept putting herself in situations where she was continually abused because these three chakras were out of alignment for her. So she didn't know how to feel about anything and had no good senses to tell her, this is a red flag I'm supposed to stop and consider here, not barrel right through. So it was very interesting. She was a very good teacher. All right. So we're going to be working now on the solar plexus, which for those of you who may not know, that is the beautiful space here between your rib cage. So for me, this is my rib cage, and this is where my solar plexus lies, right here on top of my tummy. It has a beautiful golden light, and it says, I will, because this is the center of self-confidence and self-esteem in the body. This is the let's go get 'em attaboy chakra. And so this has to do a lot with our confidence. It's attached to our digestive systems as well. So if there's something we're having a hard time digesting or processing, sometimes we'll see this come up. Or if we have a lot of doubt or fear, we'll notice that this goes out of alignment and we start to manifest symptoms of things like IBS or nervous tummy or just general nausea and things like that that happen when we're in stressful situations. That's because this is out of alignment. There's also a hand position close by for the lungs, which is where you put your hands on your rib cage like this, and you feel your lungs expand with each breath as you get the Reiki energy flowing and circulating inside them, which is very useful for people who smoke. It's also very useful for people with asthma. So something to keep in mind. This is the position for your hand treatment for yourself. This is more of the position for yourself when you're working on somebody else. So we're still just laying these directly on top of the person's rib cage when we're working on the lungs. And today I'll just be moving straight from the solar plexus out into the lungs, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. So we're still going to hit all of the same hand positions. We're just focusing from the chakras out. Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I'll definitely be having a tea for lungs today because I can feel like labored breathing as soon as I get on the table.
Right. I think a lot of that could be environmental because we are in an area that's been affected by wildfires recently.
Mm-hmm.
And our weather's been a little bit crazy because we're in Colorado and have 4 seasons of weather in a day. So I think with all of the storminess that's been happening in response to the wildfires, it's just creating a lot of weirdness for people, lung things going on. So I'm going through these symbols still as I'm opening up the chakras and processing for things. And as you move through your own meditation, just continue to bring your attention back to deep breathing in through the nose and out through your mouth. Sings has a beautiful mantra. Inhale confidence, exhale fear. Perhaps you apply that as you focus the Reiki energy around your solar plexus. Moving from the solar plexus out into the lungs. You all right?
Yeah.
Moving into your master sleep.
Thank you.
Right? They're not your lungs. The lungs I'm working on are your lungs, but the lungs that aren't your lungs are the ones that are shifting away from you now.
Right.
So this is something to remember if you're highly empathic or if you're a naturally gifted energy healer, which they do exist. You just may not be aware of it yet. You can sometimes take on the ailments and calamities of other people without meaning to. And when that happens, sometimes you manifest in your own body an imbalance that belongs to someone else that they need to learn to process on their own. That's proper medicine. And so for Sings, we are taking those extras away because those energies do not need to affect Sings as they impact her highest good and her ability to breathe and relax effectively into her flow. Okay. Probably felt like you just lost a whole extra lung in there somehow.
Yeah. Huge difference on that one.
That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are we feeling so far? We've worked from your solar plexus in your lungs all the way up to the top of your head and your crown.
I felt like when I first started this, I could breathe like that much in.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
right? I'm like, she can breathe.
So the breathing is much better for sure. My throat feels better. I coughed or whatever, dislodged that. Feeling much better so far. Feeling great.
Good. Very good. All right. So we're going to be moving from Sings' solar plexus down into the sacral chakra, which is the chakra behind the belly button or your navel. It's in this area. It is a beautiful, crisp orange color. It is tied to lunar energy. So for females especially, this is tied into your sacred womb. It's tied into your uterus. This is something that helps us to understand our own cycles and our cycles with connection to the mother and to our creativity and to our inner fires. So it is a water-associated chakra that, when properly balanced, creates steam between your solar plexus and your sacral chakra that allows your creative essence of life to continuously grow through you and expand out into the universe. This is something that's very important for everyone, but especially very important for people like Sings, who are gifted energy healers and who come up with creative inspiration daily that provides balance and inspiration and forward momentum, not just for Sings, but for other people that Sings tries to help and for the students that she has as well. So we're going to be working on the sacral chakra here, and we're going to be noticing any shifts that occur. Keeping in mind, this is where she said that she felt the next sensation after we worked on the heart chakra. So let's see what happens. What's in here? All right. I can feel things moving around.
It's kind of weird feeling the things moving around sometimes, you know?
It can be. I mean, you felt a whole organ move for me once.
Until you get used to things moving and shifting.
It helps to have recently had children as well, because I'm used to like having another life form moving around in a person. So after feeling that, you're like, you're okay. You're doing fine.
You're gonna be fine.
You're gonna be fine.
Like that hip was actually breathable that time.
Good. So we're still opening that channel up. Very good.
just to let you know that point.
There we go. All right.
I don't know what that is, but
Probably just stress, honestly.
I know. And then
it's like when you have a brain fart, sometimes you've got extra gas or something down in here, and then you cough it out, and you're like, oh, I'm good.
But if you have like a lot of stress right here, it'll make you more humped over walking.
Exactly.
This
puts a lot of pressure on the low back when there's too much tension and blockage here. Say, for example, you've got too many creative projects, or you haven't been able to get a sexual release or a rebalance of energy in your cycles for yourself. It pulls the muscles and everything together here, almost like when you get a menstrual cramp, and it pulls that tension from the back. So it's almost like it pulls your spine forward to pull you into some kind of alignment that may or may not actually be true alignment for you. So we work consistently to keep the sacral chakra, which is like the body's energetic filter, nice and clean and proper, especially for our women, because it helps us to stay in alignment with our own nature and with the divine feminine that is us, and also with the earth mother, and in balance with the cycles around us as well, so that we're not overloading ourselves with too much stuff to do and not enough creative ways to get through those steps and processes. And also so that we're not throwing ourselves off balance and needing to do a lot of extreme things to get ourselves back out of a sticky situation. Okay, so next we're going to be working on the root chakra, and the hand position that I actually used for this myself is to place the hands on the hips, on the hip points up here, not anywhere close to here, not the buttocks, just the very tops of the hips. This is another area that I always make sure I have consent for, because it is a very personal area and some people may not want to be touched kind of in their no-no square here, which is totally understandable and acceptable. You can also work this over the body as well, which is another common way to get the energy through here moving. And the root chakra is associated with our sacred self and our sense of belonging. So this is, I am present, I am belonging in this moment, I am here. This relates to simply I am. This is where we just be from, is the root of our being. This is how it expresses itself for us. When this is out of alignment, we notice a lot of tension through the back of the body in the tailbone. And we notice a lot of tension coming through the bands of muscle around our hips, especially our IT bands, which limits our flexibility. So we don't get to be at our best, basically. So we're going to be placing our hands on the hips as we do. And if you are working through this in a meditative state, just continue to breathe deeply. And as you breathe, allow your breath to deepen to the point where you are actually expanding from your root chakra, your beautiful red root chakra. So, ready? Do I have your consent to place my hands on your hip points? Okay.
And I mean, it kind of feels like this left hip's up higher than the right hip. It literally feels like that. I just want people to know.
Yeah. It feels
how weird it
heavier on this side than it does on the other.
And I've been popping my back for 5 days. I had a massage and lots of other things I've done for it. So figure let's do some Reiki and let's see what happens. Break it through. Sometimes I feel like I was folded up like this, and you're like, break it open.
In the most loving way possible.
In the most loving way possible, yes.
Nice pop. All right. How are we feeling?
Better. I haven't been able to do that in days.
Good. Very good. These are true testimonials. This is not scripted. Sings consented to do this honestly in front of everybody.
Even got my ankle to pop, which means that's my ankle.
Right?
That always
look a little less lopsided now because sometimes I'm just like, oh God, she's having a problem with her hip.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a problem with my hip now because that's my
well,
best.
That's funny that you said that about, because I lost that one tooth back there. So
Mm-hmm.
I do chew on one side most of the time. So that might have been why some of the alignment could be coming from that.
Mm-hmm. So there are muscles that actually go from the back of your neck and connect to your jaw, and it connects to muscles through the back body all the way down into the hip. So there's a meridian that actually goes from your left foot all the way up through your shoulders and into your right foot. And sometimes when we're chewing on one side more than the other and using more of those muscles, it's like one side of the channel gets stretched and used more. So the other side just kind of not atrophies, but they sort of shrink up and tighten up a little bit more so that we notice that we're doing a little more of this and it's a little more wobbly instead of being balanced and even at all points.
That's interesting.
It's nice to know a massage therapist and be able to ask these kinds of questions. It's very useful. Keep getting pops in that one knee. I'm here for it.
Yes, my knees are bad.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of healing on the knees before I have you flip over, and we'll work on your low back some more. Okay. So the knee position is just a hand on each knee. This is another area where we want to be a little gentle because we don't want to apply too much pressure and hurt someone. So as we've gone through all of the chakras, we're going to now intentionally open up the chakra points around our knees and allow the energy to flow through those correctly and properly and honestly for us so that we can then ground our energy into the Earth Mother and finish out our meditation soon. So we're just opening up another bit of the channel, guys. Hope everyone's doing all right so far. Message in if you're noticing anything interesting as you're going through this healing, or if you notice anything in our video, if you notice something going on with things that we may have missed, or if you notice something that I'm doing that you would like to offer advice on even. This is a learning experience. This is an awakening channel, so we want to help as many people as possible. So we like to know what's going on with you. Doing all right?
Figured I'd try to cough it out like I did last time because it feels. I can, as a Reiki master, when you start to work on it, I can feel if it's not mine.
Yeah. You're like, I know where the channel is.
It's here. Like everything breaks into sheets, and I can tell the sheets that are not mine.
Right.
That's kind of weird, but it is how it is.
It fits, though, when you think about things like the layers of your aura as sheets, for example. Sometimes that outer part that connects most with other people and your environments needs a cleaning. So it looks a little bit like I'm pulling a sheet back when I'm pulling these things off of things. So I'm glad that she brought that up. Because I say it's like hairs on a sweater, because sometimes it's just an itty bitty little wormy looking string that gets wedged up in there like a hair in your leggings, and it just irritates. And sometimes it's a whole sheet of pain on your hip. It's like, oh, if I just pull this Band-Aid down, what is that going to do for me? If I take this off that does not belong to me, what does that do to open up my energy flows?
That popped my back. I'm gonna keep going.
Try. I'm still getting pops on this knee. Let's do it. I've got 2 more symbols to work through on your knees, and then we're ready to flip over.
Sounds great. Hi, Casey.
Hi, Casey. Thank you for joining us, Casey. Doesn't look like you've been with us for that long. I hope that you've been able to catch the first 40 minutes of this meditative practice and
She's been
this
at work,
Reiki session.
So she may have to rewatch it or something, but see it. There we go.
Pop.
Y'all heard this pop. When I say it popped, I mean it popped.
I'm not pushing any
Oh,
extra
God.
buttons.
So that made my back pop right here,
Cool.
right in the middle, and then this elbow pop.
Cool.
So just wanted to note that also.
Wonderful. So Sings is just rotating for us. In a massage, there's draping and things that happen during this point so that no body parts are exposed. But Reiki is something I believe can be done completely clothed. You do not have to be nude or skyclad to accomplish the beautiful gift of healing in this scenario. It's nice to wear things that are a little bit loose or flowy, but as long as you're comfortable in it, I'm comfortable working on you. As long as everybody's cool, we're all good. So I'm going to place my hands on Sings' low back, like this. You can see what my hands are doing here. I'm going to be putting my right hand behind my left because my right is my output of energy charge, and this is where I find my senses, where I take in new information on my left hand. So as we work through Reiki, it's good to know where you naturally pull and push your energy out from. And since Reiki is an intuitive life force, this isn't necessarily something we have to focus a lot of control on, but it's something to keep a good track of if you notice that things swap around in certain places. It's just something to note as you're taking on your own Reiki practice for yourself.
Well, one of my things I was wondering is, if the lower back is giving problems, does that mean one of the chakras is getting hung up, like with energy from the back point?
It can. So there's lots of different ways that this can happen. It depends a lot on where you notice the pain. Specifically, if you're focusing on pain in your low back, this can be issues of attachment. It can also be just simply a physical pain, like say you spend too much time playing on the floor with your grandkids or something like that. And those things do happen from time to time. Usually, I would say, since Reiki isn't a way to diagnose, if I look at it and I'm like, there is something blocking you here, or if somebody mentions a symptom that's maybe like a constipation or something like that, usually that's an imbalance between the sacral and the root, because your sacral is also connected to your digestive system and your reproductive systems. And so is your root chakra when it comes to men. So when you look at issues in your low back, consider the foods you eat, consider how much water you take in, whether or not it's enough to actually flush your systems properly. Whether or not you're staying hydrated is very important to your hips and low back, because this is a huge center of movement. This is the midpoint in your body. And also, be on the lookout for issues in your creative and sexual life. If you're asexual, this isn't something that really necessarily involves a whole lot of attention for you. But for people who do find balance through a sexual release or a flow that kind of gets those things moving a little bit more, you may notice tension in your low back when those things aren't released routinely, or maybe not even in the same fulfilling way as usual. So when you change things up, sometimes you notice different things going on here. If you take it a little too far, you notice things are going on here that may need to be rebalanced. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. If anybody else in the audience has questions, I'm willing to answer whatever I can. And if I don't answer it, Sings probably will.
If I had to explain it, I'm sorry I laughed.
No, you're good.
Laughing
Laughing is good.
It's literally like your hands is a water hydrant.
Uh-huh.
And you know how powerful that is?
Yeah.
And you let it go off, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Center.
Exactly.
Cool.
That's what we go for.
It was really cool. It just, I could feel the energy, and yet, I don't know. It was fun.
Cool. So yeah, this is I like to equate the two kinds of energy work that I work best in, which is light work and Reiki. And light work to me is warm. Light work is like the sun. So to me, this is a very warm, grounding kind of energy. It makes you feel very secure and everything's just nice and fuzzy. It's like being under a nice warm blanket, getting a warm hug, or even just standing in direct sunlight. Maybe your back's against a tree. It's got that nice relaxing recharge, warmth, heat to it, I guess. And for me, Reiki comes in more as water. So there's a lot more recommended meditations you can find online that'll tell you to focus on Reiki as a waterfall, going through your chakras and through your body and your aura and essence, and washing away anything that doesn't serve you or anything that is blocking your ability to connect with your higher self and to the highest good of all. And I think the reason for this is because of the legend of Usui. Now, when we practice Reiki, if you learn the way that me and Sings did, you go through traditional Usui Reiki healing first. And when you go through Usui Reiki, they tell you the story of how Reiki was brought back to the Japanese people through Usui, who then went on to train people. Basically, he became a monk and he tried to study Tibetan methods of meditation for healing himself because he noticed that when he meditated, his physical ailments were less extreme, and he wanted to understand how to manifest that for other people and also how to continuously be in the vibration of his highest self so that he no longer had attachments to the pain that was limiting him. And he went out for 21 days and meditated in extreme conditions. He restricted food, he fasted, he did all kinds of things to elicit an altered state of consciousness in a meditation so that he could get the great creator spirit to talk to him directly. And while this is very good in some situations, you must always pay attention to what your body needs. So basically, he pushed it a little far one day out on top of a waterfall, and he kind of left his body hanging for a little bit, we'll say. He transcended his physical form after going through an extreme period of fasting, and he came back understanding a connection to the universal life force that is Reiki at that waterfall. And so from then on, he taught the method of the Reiki symbols, which are based on Japanese kanji and Tibetan symbols for healing, including symbols for the chakras, which we'll come back to at some other point. And so he teaches the waterfall method of allowing Reiki energy to channel through you. So you may notice that I'm a little bit, not wispy, but a little willowy when it comes down to the flow I use physically when it comes to Reiki. And that's because I feel it a little bit more as a watery form of cleansing energy than one where I would necessarily want to use heat. So what you're noticing I'm doing on the video feeds right now, if you're watching, is I'm actually sweeping Sings' aura. And so when you learn about Reiki, you learn about the 3 layers of the aura. There's one that's really far out here. It comes out a little further away from the body. I like to sweep up and down to notice if anything kind of, it's like when you pet a cat backwards sometimes, which is not recommended. But if you pet a cat backwards and their hair stands up, it's kind of like smoothing that back down. So if there's anything that's still lingering that's caught in the fur, we'll say, or in the web of the aura, we just kind of sweep that through. And we just ground all of this energy very intentionally, getting closer and closer to the body as we work through each aura layer. Now that I've gone through all 3 and I've grounded, what I'm going to do is use a grounding Reiki symbol, which technically I cannot show you if you've not been trained in Reiki. It's kind of a taboo. But I'll be grounding myself and grounding my client. And the way that I like to do this for clients is I like to place hands over body and then intentionally place the symbol over their chakras, over their aura, and over them, over the physical space that they take up. So as we go through this part, I really want you to focus on this part of the meditation if you're just joining us. Allow your awareness to come back to your breath. Take in a nice, beautiful, healthy, deep breath into your entire body, filling it up with air. Breathe out through your mouth. Release any stress, doubt, fear, or worry that is separating you from your fullest potentials. Just continue to take beautifully deep breaths in through the nose, filling all of your body with life force energy through your breath. Accept the potentials that align you with your highest good and with the highest good of all. And let everything else be washed away. Imagine from the bottom of your feet, there are roots growing down into the heart of the Earth Mother. They go deep, they go wide. They're going to continue to grow until you feel the beautiful presence of the Earth Mother's love filling you up, grounding you here in the present, and opening up the channels of energy that are connecting with her and her to you. Feel how the connection to the earth blends with the energy already present in your body. Allow this energy to travel up through the roots to your feet, and then from your feet to your knees to your hips, up through your torso into your rib cage, out from the ribs and the chest to the arms, up the neck and into the head. We are beautifully connected to the Earth Mother. We are connected to our higher selves. We are connected to the divine within us and to the divine outside of us. And there is no separation here. This is an illusion that we have been taught. There is no illusion here. We give gratitude and thanks for the Earth Mother and all that she provides for us. We give thanks to the great Creator Spirit, the Creatrix, for allowing us the wisdom and the divine connection to provide this healing, for Sings with Owls, for the highest good of all, and for the greater community as well on the internet, for whoever tunes in and watches this, so that they can reach their highest good for the highest good of all as well. We give thanks to the universal life force that is Reiki energy. We give thanks to everybody that watched this video or that listened to this soundbite. We give thanks to Sings with Owls for being with us today.
And I want to give gratitude for Moonspirit Magic taking care of me today.
I was very happy to help. How are you feeling?
Much, much better.
Wonderful.
I'm excited to see how the walking is.
Wonderful. So gently bring your eyes back to being open. Bring a smile to your face, maybe your hands to your heart. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Peace and blessings. Have a good weekend. It's not touchscreen, is it?
No.